If you guys want coins for FC24, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself a lovely 5% discount. So, what's up guys? It's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day so far. In today's video guys, we do have some 4-2-3-1 custom tactics and player instructions. Those of you that have been around on this channel for a while now or even years will know that the 4-2-3-1 has consistently been my favorite formation throughout many years of FIFA. The reason I like it so much is because I find it to be balanced in pretty much every area. It's got decent width whilst also being able to play narrow. You can play defensive with it, you can play attacking with it. There's just really good variety with this formation, which is why it's always found its way into my team's tactics. And yeah, with all that aside guys, please be sure to drop this a thumbs up as it does help me out massively. Sub to the channel if you are new, and don't forget to turn on notifications. And with all that aside guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and let's get right into the video. Okay then guys, so starting off with the tactics for the 4-2-3-1, honestly the tactics are pretty much standard for nearly every formation you use in this game. This is what I use. So the defensive style, we have it on balance because it does give us the best control over the defense. When you want to press you can, when you want to drop off and be a bit more passive you can also do that. So I really like balanced, I feel like it gives me the best control. You guys can change that if you want. Now for the defensive width guys, I would suggest anywhere from 40 to 50. 40 obviously being a more narrow defensive width, 50 being a bit wider. The reason I suggest in between these values is because it's important to maintain a nice narrow and compact defense to block out all those attacks through the middle. But on the flip side, you don't want to make this width too narrow or too low to the point where you have nobody covering the wider areas to prevent an opponent going down the wing or consistently switching the play. So you want to have a width that is nice and compact, but you also want to have a natural width to cover those wider areas too. Now for the depth guys, this one is a preference thing. You can pretty much do what you want with this. I use 55 because I honestly like the balance it has at the moment. I don't like the automatic press that some people use at the moment, which is the 71 depth thing. You guys can use that if you want. You will get that automatic press from the AI. I just don't like the lack of control that it gives me when I am defending. So I prefer to go, for something like 55. If this is too low for you, you can up it. If this is too high for you, you can even lower it. So it's completely up to you what you do with the depth. Moving on to the build-up play guys, we pop this on balanced. I very much suggest this with most formations because it does give you the most consistent and the most varied way to build up the play. Basically, when you use balance, you can pick and choose between all the different types of build-up. So if you want to play slow, if you want to play quick, if you want to play a long ball, you can pretty much do all of that with balanced. It just seems to make your players move a lot better because, for example, using slow build-up, it doesn't help you with slow build-up. It just means your players don't really move around all that much, and it actually makes it even more difficult to build up slowly. So I don't suggest using any of these, different settings. Just use balanced as it is the best. Moving on to the chance creation guys, I highly recommend direct passing. In fact, it's probably the only absolute must in this video because direct passing is the only way you can consistently score in this game. Basically, when you use direct passing guys, your attackers will commit these runs. The opponent's defender will follow the attacker that is making the run, and then once that defender has overcommitted from tracking the run, your attacker will then track back so that there is a lot of space between that attacker and the defender that has overcommitted so that you can cut back to them and score those goals. So it can be a very boring playstyle, but it is the only one that is effective most of the time in this game. Moving on to the attacking width guys, you have a bit of flexibility with this, to be honest with you. If you want to be like me and have it a bit more of a narrow attack, you can go for something like 45. It's important to note with this, you can still go out wide down the wing. You just have to manually pull your players out there sometimes. But I like this because it means I can build up the play a bit easier because my players are a bit closer together and it's not too difficult to make those passes. That being said, if you want a wider attack with this formation, that is absolutely fine. You can do that. Just pick a number that you want. You can see the kind of effect that it has, the width has on the team shape by looking at that diagram. You can see as we up it, it pushes these wider players past the opposition players, whereas if we have it on something like 45, which I do, they're kind of tucked inside, a bit like that. So that is what I prefer, but you guys might not. For the players in the box guys, we pop this on 6. I like this because I find it to be a really good middle ground, so we can get a few players into that penalty area without overcommitting everybody and worrying so much about those counter attacks. For the corners and the free kicks guys, I have these both on 2, but you guys can do whatever you want with that. You don't have to use these. Now, moving on to my player instructions for the 4-2-3-1, guys, a lot of them are pretty basic, and the reason being is because I don't like to restrict my players all that much in this formation. It's one of those formations where you really want to let your players express themselves and do different things, so minimal instructions is actually best, as you're not restricting them to doing specific things as much. There are a few important instructions which we'll get into, starting off with this striker, for example. We pop them on getting behind. This is so that it ensures that they always make those runs in behind to get as many chances as possible. On mixed attack, sometimes these players are very static and will not move into the correct areas, so getting behind is very important. I actually quite like balance width with this formation because it means as we've got one striker, they can cover a lot more space. You know, they don't drift out too wide all the time, and yeah, it just seems to give them more movement, so I like that. For the central cam guys, we just leave them alone. We don't restrict them to doing anything. We do have them on stick to position as it keeps them more in like a structured formation as such. But if you want to put this on like free roam, for example, go right ahead. For everything else, we just leave it. For the right attacking mid and the left attacking mid guys, the only thing I put on is get into the box for cross. This is just so that they're not hesitant in getting into the penalty area when we do create those chances, because sometimes on like balanced crossing runs, these players can be a little bit hesitant and not actually commit to getting on to the end of chances. But we also leave them on basic defensive support because I believe in my defensive ability and I don't feel like it's always necessary to have these on comeback. If you struggle defensively, you can pop them on comeback, so it defends in more like a 4-4-2 shape, but I like basic defensive support as it makes it a bit easier for me to attack when I win the ball back. Now, for the two CDMs, this does really help with these wide attacking mids not coming back, by the way, because we've got obviously two very good players here. So on this left CDM, the more defensive one, we have them on stay back, cut passing lanes, and cover centre. It's very important we don't send this player flying forward since he is the more defensive-minded one. We want him to be a rock, we want him to be that anchor, so we kind of just let him sit there and basically do what we need him to. We also have him on cut passing lanes, so he's always looking to intercept those passes. Very useful on someone like Shuameni with that intercept plus play style. So yeah, most meta instructions, and they obviously cover center so that they will primarily cover that middle area and make life difficult through the middle. For the right CDM guys, the more box-to-box player, we leave them on the default settings and then pop them on cover center. The default settings, because they are more box-to-box, so we want them to have that freedom, we want them to attack, we want them to defend, we kind of just let them do what they want. The other thing though is cover center, so like the other CDM, they will cover that central area primarily. Now, for the fullbacks, guys, whichever one is your more attacking one, so in my case, the right back, we pop them on balanced attack and overlap. Now, this works back into our tactics, so you see we've got like an attacking width of like 45, which isn't crazy wide, but to compensate for this, we have this fullback on balanced attack and overlap. Now, the reason we do this is because, like I said, the attack can be quite narrow, so this player going on the overlap will create that extra width. It will stretch out the opposition's defense and give the more narrow players more space to break in between the defensive line, as that defensive line is getting stretched as a result of the overlapping run. So this gives us a lot of options. Very useful to have somebody like Cafu with like that width pass plus, or James, you know, somebody like that. Very, very useful. For the other fullback guys, stay back and overlap so that you always have at least 3 defenders back at a time, so you're nice and defensively sound, and then pop them on overlap as well. So if you do manually send them on a run forward, they'll make that overlapping run to give you that extra width, guys. For the 2 centre backs, we leave them alone, of course, and the keeper, if you want, comes for crosses and sweeper keeper, but I just leave them alone. And yeah, guys, they're my tactics and the instructions for the 4-2-3-1. If you guys have enjoyed or found this video useful, please be sure to drop it a thumbs up, as it does really help me out. Sub to the channel if you are new, and don't forget to turn on notifications. Yeah, with all that aside, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out, guys. Take care.